All right, as you guys can see up on the screen today, I want to talk a little bit about SoFi Technologies. This is ticker symbol SOFI, and this is a stock that has been very, very popular all over social media over the past year or so. YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, all over the place. A ton of people talking about it, and it's also just a very, very controversial stock. Some people think it's way overvalued, that it's way overhyped, that it's garbage, it's trash, whatever. And some people think it's one of the most undervalued stocks with the highest potential on the entire market right now. In this video today, I wanted to dive a little bit into the numbers behind SoFi, do a little bit of a fundamental analysis, and give kind of my bear and bull cases of where SoFi could be going over the next 5 years. Now, obviously, in this video, there is no financial advice at all. This is just me giving my opinion and takes on the numbers of SoFi, and talking about whether or not for myself, I think it would be, maybe an investment that fits into my investing style and strategy. But that does not mean that you guys should invest, any money because of anything that I say in this video at all. That is totally not the point. But with that being said, let's get right into this. So obviously SoFi is in, the fintech space. One thing they do want to make clear is that currently they are not a bank. Here it says, while we do offer many of the same products and services as traditional financial institutions, SoFi is not a bank. Now, that's obviously one of the big things to note, that right now they're in the process of trying to get a bank charter to actually, become more like a traditional financial institution, to become more like a bank. Now, I'm sure their goal is not to be a traditional financial institution. They want to be a bank of the future, not a bank of the past. Trying to get involved with a lot of technology, obviously in the fintech space, and be way more, progressive, forward-looking, trying to find out the next big thing. But obviously, getting that bank charter under their belt is going to be something that really helps them out a lot, just in terms of what they're able to do as a company, and also adding legitimacy to them at the same time, in not only the eyes of investors and shareholders, but in the eyes of people who, need to pick out a company to trust for their financial services. So that is something very, very big for SoFi that has still not happened, but it is on the horizon. If that ever does happen, that is one of the biggest catalysts for this company. So just kind of clearing that up at the beginning. They are not a bank, but they are, a financial institution or a financial service, type company in this space. And the stock's been very, very volatile over the past year. It's really been all over the place. 52-week range between 1180 and 2826. So we're down almost 50% from the 52-week highs at this point. Obviously on the side, they have, like, from Morningstar what the bears and bulls are saying, which I think it's good to hear, kind of both sides of this before we actually jump into some of the numbers. And bulls are saying that SoFi has managed to rapidly launch an impressive array of products and services. The company remains the only firm offering a digital full service model. That's obviously really, really cool. Something that especially a lot of younger folks really, really appreciate and enjoy and like and look for, when using their financial services. Nobody wants to go to the bank. That's scary. That's stressful. That's a hassle. If you can do it all on your phone, on the computer, that's awesome. They also say here that SoFi has enjoyed rapid growth driven by the introduction of new products and broader adoption of digital banking. The company's acquisition of Galileo was likely a major win, as the number of accounts using Galileo's platform has risen sharply since the purchase. Obviously, with all the good comes some bad. The bears are saying that SoFi's revenue growth comes at the cost of rapid growth in the company's expenses, and SoFi remains unprofitable. Obviously, that is not a good word in the investing field. SoFi's lending model leaves it reliant on external demand for the loans it generates. And many of SoFi's products and services are the result of partnerships or are easy to replicate, creating the risk of future competitions, not necessarily having a moat about what they have going on, and that's not necessarily a great sign. So as far as what SoFi has been doing over the past couple of years, I want to dive into the numbers of the company a little bit, their financials. Obviously, total revenue over the past couple of years has been growing consistently. 2018, we have $269 million generated. 2019, we have 442 million. 2020, we have 565, and then obviously so far in 2021, 870 million. So the revenues are consistently growing, but obviously some of the downside and some of the negatives there is the overall income, which is still in the red, like we were saying. So for a while, they were shrinking their losses, 252, 239, 224, and this was a great trend. But to see the big boom in revenue that they have in the year of 2021, expenses increased a lot, and they went from only losing 224 million to again losing 455 million so far in this year, still with another quarter left to report. So that is not a great sign, and that is what some people are worried about. Yes, we are seeing explosive revenue growth again, going from 269 million to just like 3 years ago, to what is potentially going to be upwards of $1 billion this year. Is pretty crazy and is pretty significant. But some people are obviously very, very scared of the unprofitability of the company, and also are asking the question, when is this thing ever going to be profitable? How are we going to get there? Yes, they can generate insane amounts of revenue. Yes, they can show us crazy amounts of growth. And if we dive into some of the numbers and estimates, next year they're expecting 44.6% sales growth, which would be crazy. That would be insane. That would be absolutely awesome. But at what cost is that going to come? Obviously. And then as far as all the growth estimates, over the next 5 years, they are expecting 47% annual growth for the next 5 years. That is going to be crazy. And, we'll see if they're able to live up to those expectations or not. And if they are, this stock could potentially be an absolute home run. But with those revenue growth estimates and with those revenue growth numbers, what is the actual, bottom line going to look like? Are we going to be bringing in profit? How much profit? 5 years is a long time. They're going to be able to figure a lot of this stuff out, and actually acquiring their bank charter and a lot of the new catalysts and growing a lot of the companies under SoFi at this point is going to go a long way in helping them get towards profitability. But we're just not there yet, and we don't exactly know when we are going to be there. So on the bright side, the estimates as far as EPS look better for SoFi headed into 2022. Obviously, the average estimate was minus 1.2 for them in 2021, and we're looking at an average estimate from 8 different analysts as 0.3 in 2022. So that means we are going to be getting closer and closer to that profitability. And again, that's also a good sign in terms of eventually breaking even and eventually pulling some profit, especially if we are able to see these growth numbers. And that really does leave us in a very, very good spot for SoFi. Obviously, the company is also not sitting on an amount of cash right now. This is their numbers from 2020, when they were at minus $120 million. They do have a significant amount of debt as well. So that is kind of something to keep in mind there. This is not necessarily a positively cash flowing company, at least at this point in time, especially as they consider to not bring in revenue and stuff. So that is definitely something that you want to keep an eye on. And then here is what things currently look like. We're currently sitting at right around a $12 billion market cap. Price to sales sitting around 13.89. Price to book 2.85. Obviously, no forward PE or trailing PE, because we still don't know necessarily what that stuff is going to look like yet. But if we do take a look at some of these numbers, if we do take a look at this, 47% year over year revenue growth, again, we don't know exactly where the profitability is going to be. We don't know when we're going to be breaking even, and looking that far forward into the future is, kind of tough. But if we do look at some of these numbers, if we do see, that consistent revenue growth, and we do hit those 47% marks, the numbers we're looking at into the future is, between like $6 and $8 billion of revenue, I believe, in the future. We're talking 2026 at this point, 2027-ish, for SoFi. And if you compare that to, their price to sales right now at around 13.89, I think, 5 years from now, this could put them at a level of like $90 as their share price. So I think that is obviously a bull case. That is very, very good, going from 15.81 to 90 potentially in the next 5 years. So that is at least one potential estimate and possible estimate. Another way to take a look at this in terms of price to sales, comparing it to like companies and competitors, is Upstart Holdings, which obviously a lot of people do compare it to. They are right now trading at around a price to sales of 21.12, which if you factor that in with SoFi and their current trajectory and revenue growth projections over the next 5 years, that could have them potentially sitting at around $150 per share in 2026, 2027-ish range, 5 years from now. And that is obviously very, very optimistic. That is the extreme bull case because, that is still factoring in a ton of growth. That's if they hit on all these estimates. That's if you don't think that, 21, 22 price to sales is that outrageous or anything like that. And then I did also want to compare, at least, from the numbers we have right now, to a traditional financial institution like JP Morgan Chase, which does trade around a 4 price to sales. Now, this is not really a fair comparison at all. JP Morgan and SoFi are two extremely different companies in so many different ways. But again, when we don't have a ton of information and a ton of history and numbers to go off of, like for a company like SoFi, it is kind of tough to do a really, really great fundamental analysis and accurately project this company going forward in the future, but accurately put a price tag on them right now. And I do think that makes it pretty hard. But if you do use a 4 price to sales, I do believe that puts us right around a like $30 to $40 price range for SoFi 5 years from now. Again, all things staying the same if things don't radically change, which is kind of fair because I know a lot of people on the bull side are gonna be like, okay, well that's underestimating things. Things could go so good in the next 5 years. Things could also go really, really bad as well. If things do go poorly, they continue to burn money. So you really got to do factor in both sides. But even at that point, sitting at a $30 to $40 price target 5 years from now, which would be, right around doubling your money in 5 years, which is pretty in line with, market expectations and the average market numbers. I really do, in my opinion, think SoFi is a pretty, sound investment when I look at my investing strategy and when I'm considering to myself whether or not this is a company I want to buy into, especially at these current prices. Now, there is a lot of risk involved. Again, some things could go wrong. Maybe this bank charter never works out. Maybe they just are never able to really work towards profitability. Maybe they just keep burning money. Maybe, customers are just too expensive to keep in and maybe they just keep having to, just spend too much money, even though they're going to be putting up insane numbers of revenue. Obviously, at the end of the day, it's all about profit, and you need to be, bringing home the bag to your shareholders and everything. So, to me, SoFi is very, very hard to rate, but I do see, some of the lower end bull estimates, and we even see this from analysts being around $30 in the next 5 years. They could see this definitely being a stock that doubles from these price levels. And I think that's very, very fair. And I think, that is the very, very conservative estimate. But on the high side, I could absolutely see as well, if things do go their way, a $90 to $150 price target being absolutely realistic, which could be potentially 10xing, the money that I put in 5 years. And that, especially as a young person who is willing to be a little more risky with my investments, does seem like a very, very enticing proposition. Now, it's absolutely possible that SoFi could trade flat or even go down from here over the next 5 years. I don't know exactly what it looks like on the bear side. But I do think that a lot of people have very, very high expectations and are excited about the future of SoFi. And I honestly, the more I look at this company and the more I dive into the numbers and see the community that they've built up and the very, very, cult-like following that they almost have surrounding them, I think things are looking good. And I really do think things are interesting. But again, that is just my thoughts and opinions, some fundamental analysis, me diving into the numbers a little bit, something new on this channel that I really want to, practice more of and consider, doing more of and think about more. Obviously, I want to continue to get better and practice and learn, just like we all want to. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you did enjoy it. I would appreciate it so much. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about SoFi stock. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Remember, no financial advice. I'm not telling you to throw your life savings into SoFi, nothing like that. Just giving my thoughts and opinions on the stock when I take a look at the numbers. But hopefully I catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.